I just heard one of the questions that a White House press secretary has ever had to answer. This morning, President Trump said that 6 Democratic lawmakers did something bad that could get them in big trouble. So to make things clear, does President Trump want to punish members of Congress? No. Okay, what started as a late-night talk show quickly became really uncomfortable for the White House because Jimmy Kimmel did not just make a joke and move on. Instead, he slowed down the story, put the administration's words side by side, and let viewers see the contradiction happen in real time. This approach made the segment more effective than a comedy bit. It was not just funny, it was also relatable. Once people understood what was going on, Donald Trump seemed to realize the problem right away. This was no longer about one joke, one press conference, or one awkward answer. It was about a pattern. Patterns become dangerous when millions of people see them at the same time. Then there was this moment when Karoline, the press secretary, had to defend her boss, who called a reporter piggy on his plane. What did President Trump mean when he called the reporter piggy? Well, the press secretary said that President Trump is very straightforward and honest with everyone. You have all seen it, you have all experienced it. I think the problem started when Karoline stepped up to the podium again to explain some comments that had already caused a lot of backlash. She explained it quickly and confidently, saying that President Trump was joking. Critics were twisting his words and reporters were focusing on the story. On paper, it sounded like another cleanup operation. Jimmy Kimmel understood something important. Those explanations work when nobody points out the truth too slowly. So that night he did that. He played the footage, repeated her defense, and put it beside President Trump's remarks, letting the difference between the two speak for itself. At first, the audience laughed because comedy naturally makes people feel better. As the segment continued, the laughter changed. Jimmy Kimmel was not just making jokes. He was making a point. He showed how the same explanation kept appearing. It was a day for President Trump, too. He lost an hour of posting angry messages on social media yesterday. This guy, I do not know what kind of protection he has, but somehow he manages to do everything wrong. It just does not seem to affect him. Whenever President Trump said something difficult to defend, Jimmy Kimmel pointed out that the phrase "he was joking" had started to sound less like an explanation and more like an excuse. Then he said something that really got the audience's attention. If every controversial statement becomes a joke only after people start criticizing it, the only people not laughing are the ones who have to explain it. The audience erupted. Underneath the laughter was a sense of understanding. That was the moment the segment stopped feeling like entertainment and started feeling like a revelation. Karoline Leavitt, at 27 years old, had already made history as the youngest White House press secretary. That also put her directly in the spotlight. Karoline Leavitt, President Trump's press secretary, the woman who keeps saying that President Trump did not draw something or sign something in 2003. She was 5 years old at that time. She was too young for Jeffrey Epstein in 2001. Jimmy Kimmel pointed out that contrast. He portrayed her not as the source of the problem, as the person who has to stand in front of it and make it sound normal. That portrayal worked because it made the situation feel like a strategy and more like a struggle. President Trump creates the headlines, she carries the explanations. Then Jimmy Kimmel took the segment further. He replayed moments in a row. Karoline Leavitt saying that something had been misunderstood, President Trump saying something entirely, the White House trying to change the subject, and then President Trump pulling the same controversy back into the spotlight. It was not one mistake, it was a cycle. Jimmy Kimmel did not need files or hidden recordings. He only needed the replay button. Once the pattern appeared clearly, every denial looked weaker. Every explanation sounded more defensive. In the middle of the breakdown, he even glanced toward the audience, casually asked, "By the way, where are you watching from tonight?" Before continuing the analysis, briefly turning the moment into something viewers felt part of. By the time the segment ended, clips were already spreading across media. Viewers shared not the jokes, but the structure of the argument. Many said Jimmy Kimmel had done what official briefings often fail to do. He made the contradictions simple enough for ordinary people to understand. That may explain why President Trump's reaction appeared strong. He has often fought headlines, criticized reporters, but satire is different. It reaches people who are not watching to be persuaded. It turns repetition into memory.